plug in, turn on, and cop out. The revolution will not be televised.
Hello, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to make a video after seeing Black Panther last night. Now, there are tons of things that kind of percolated in my mind overnight, and so I wanted to make a video because there are many different types of people, maybe about like 3 types of people. Maybe you just like the Black Panther movie just because, you know, you thought it was great. You wanted a movie with a predominantly black cast to succeed. You know, maybe you didn't like the movie. It was just like no better than any other movie, any other MCU movie. Or maybe you loved it because of a lot of the themes and a lot of the meanings that I'm about to talk about, and why I love the movie. So I'll try not to rant. You know, I'm not like a dedicated YouTuber with a channel. I just, you know, I feel like I'm kind of like a self-proclaimed finder of hidden meanings and themes in movies. So this is for people who have seen the movie. So just a kind of a notice of spoilers. You could probably watch this video, but definitely watch it after you've seen the movie. All right, so with that being said, I'll break it off with kind of this thought. Now, with every new ruler, whatever the society, comes the decision to keep things the way they are or to change them. All right, so I'm going to talk about the tradition of Wakanda, this beautiful African society that came upon a meteor of vibranium, which fueled their resources and endowed them with incredible technology, the best the world has ever seen, probably rivals that of alien nations, you know. And Wakanda had to make the choice to steward this resource by shutting themselves off from the rest of the world, and making themselves pretty much immune to what was going on to the other African nations, all the colonization and things of that nature. They didn't touch on this a whole lot in the movie, but Ulysses Claw is the main Black Panther villain who had not as much of a part as I thought in the movie, but he most likely drove a lot of T'Chaka's and the rest of the Black Panthers, but maybe mainly T'Chaka's motives to make these extreme decisions that he made. So that was kind of the main thing coming into the movie was there's this opening scene of T'Chaka and Njobu. I'll get into that later, but you know, it's like, you know, so T'Challa has his dream with his father, and his father pretty much tells him that he's ready and that he'll make the right decisions when the time comes. Like, he's ready to be king. So with that, and with that ritual, you have his first mission to recover stolen vibranium from what you see is Ulysses Claw and this really strong-looking brother, you know, we find out to be Eric Killmonger. And he has this really cool mask that really paid good homage to the comics. I love that they put that mask in there. So eventually we find out more about Njobu, like his cause. We find out that it's actually a noble cause. It's you know, there's these spies that are placed around the world from Wakanda. I believe it's for the betterment of people around the world. But he's a spy that was placed in the United States in Oakland, California, and he saw all the suffering, all the oppression. Mainly, he saw people who didn't know their African heritage or who was even ashamed of their African heritage. You know, you have everyone has seen the commercial of the emaciated black kid with the flies swirling over his head and, you know, asking to donate money. And that's our image of Africa. And we're all, you know, all been kind of ashamed of that. And other people, non people of African descent kind of see that and they look down on Africa, things of that nature. So Njobu realized that Wakanda could do something, and he took some vibranium in order to push that forward. But T'Chaka, in keeping with their tradition and loving Wakanda and protecting it by any means necessary, he actually ended up killing his brother, and he actually also left his son there, which is actually one of many of Wakanda's sins, but this is more of a direct sin. Now, Wakanda's sin. So that's a lot of that is the neglect and the the keeping out of people around the world. So Ryan Coogler was faced with bringing a fictional society, culture, country like Wakanda. Kugler was faced with putting that in a modern world where there were years and years of oppression, famine, slavery, genocide, this modern world where Wakanda kept out of all that, all these bad things that were happening to Africans and African Americans. Wakanda stayed out of that. So that was Wakanda's pretty much their greatest sin. And what ended up happening is they created a monster in Eric Killmonger. He is the product of their neglect, their preservation of the beautiful Wakanda. He is the continuance of his father's noble cause fueled with hate. All the love that is in a cause like that Martin Luther King stood behind, it was stripped away. All you have is hate. And any cause that is fueled by hate leads to violence and killing and ruthlessness. And that is what Eric Killmonger was. Somehow we don't know exactly how, but he ended up surviving. He eventually joined the CIA and he became a tool of murder. And what I really like about Eric Killmonger is he is a continuance of the theme from Civil War of revenge that T'Challa actually had when his father died. He wanted revenge on the Winter Soldier. But this time it's tenfold because you had all these years to fester. This guy who was abandoned by his motherland and who was stripped of his love and had a place to fuel his anger. Not many black folks know their heritage, their African lineage, but he did. You could kind of also think about. We know the history that a lot of tribal leaders in Africa actually sold their people to colonizers, and that's how we got slavery. So this is kind of a form of that. When we talk about Wakanda's sin, that's kind of in the package here. And so we have Eric Killmonger, and I really liked him. I kind of like him in the same way that I like Darth Vader, because we kind of know Darth Vader's story, and we kind of like sympathize for him a little bit. He's like this really cool character. So same with Eric Killmonger. He was a victim that turned into a villain. And a lot of people will probably stand by him. He has some pretty good lines, and he's extremely angry. So Killmonger is the embodiment of the black struggle with no love. No love. I ain't got no love for you, bruh. That's Eric Killmonger. And that's what makes him a great villain. And I like a lot of the elements from the comic that they put for him. A lot of people think he was kind of acting too hard, but I think he was really trying to drive the point home. This is an angry brother, and so I like that. So going back to T'Challa, this is why I love T'Challa and his character. His role and his kind of purpose was facing all of Wakanda's sins and figuring out where to go from there. So Killmonger comes back to Wakanda eventually. Spoiler alert, he kills off Claw becomes the main villain of the story. And I would have loved a line from T'Challa. So after trying to get Claw, he fails because of Killmonger's knowledge of Wakanda's weapons and being able to stop T'Challa. So he fails in getting Claw, and this brings up some dialogue between I forgot his name, I apologize, but Forrest Whitaker's character brings up some dialogue and knowing the truth of what happened with Njobu. And so Killmonger eventually gets to Wakanda. So I would have loved a line, kind of maybe some dialogue between Forrest Whitaker's character and T'Challa about how much of a mistake it was to do what they did, and maybe a peace offering to Killmonger, something along the lines of acknowledging what T'Chaka did and offering kind of like, hey, this is your blood, this is your people, come back home. And maybe Killmonger saying like, nah, it's too late, or something like that. I don't know. That would have kind of like maybe like some epic line there. I would have loved to see that, but we didn't. But it's still all good. So T'Challa had to basically what he had to stand against was the fear and neglect that Wakanda did. And even before this, I'll say that one of the great things about T'Challa's character is he started to break the tradition when he helped Ross. He didn't leave him to die like T'Chaka left Eric to die, even before he knew about all this stuff. So you kind of see like, yeah, that's easy to miss. All this stuff is easy to miss actually, but that was a great thing, and it ended up paying off later, and I'll get into that later. So he had to kind of own up to what Wakanda did. We have this kind of fight that took place, where again I would have loved to see maybe some more lines, some more like talking about Wakanda's burden of loving their country, but also having to help other people. So with that burden is displayed in different characters. So we have Njobu, who died, Killmonger's father. We have Nakia, T'Challa's love interest. She's actually trying to do the same thing as Njobu, but she does it in a kind of smarter way, trying to help, trying to appeal to T'Challa's feelings and different emotions and helping the rest of the world, and seeing the movie, kind of how the story unfolds. You have Okoye. She is the embodiment of Wakandan pride, and kind of more of the embodiment of T'Chaka and what he was fighting for. She probably would have made the same choice that T'Chaka did. She was even willing to kill her own husband. That's kind of like showing how in Wakanda, you're willing to make huge sacrifices, even kill your own husband, to uphold Wakanda's beauty and culture and resources. You have T'Challa and Shuri, which I really love their relationship as brother and sister. I see a lot of love there. I see a lot of communication. I see, Shuri using her gifts, trying to help T'Challa be better. I think that's a great kind of underlying theme about how when people of a same culture, and we can even America with many different types of people, but when looking at a country or a culture, people who work together and communicate and use their gifts, they end up making it. They look out for each other, and that's kind of how we're able to get through the climax unscathed. And then going back to Ross, Shuri put her faith in Ross. Shuri is kind of like part of T'Challa's how T'Challa went about being a better king than T'Chaka. She was like, and you have a lot of strong women in this movie who did the right thing, and Shuri's one of them. She, and she's helping out Winter Soldier as well, Bucky. But she kind of put her faith in Ross, right? So Ross represents the another one of the outside American white colonizers. But instead of a guy like Ulysses Claw, who actually tried to appeal to Ross, he actually helped fight for Wakanda, and he understood that he had to keep that technology from getting out of Wakanda that Killmonger was trying to do to arm a lot of the people around the world. That technology, he actually was. It seemed like he was willing to die for it too. So I think that's what eventually pushed T'Challa to understand that it's okay to reveal Wakanda to the rest of the world. And it showed a lot of Ross in that part where he was at the UN. It had the camera on him because it was like, yeah, it's gonna be all right. You can reveal Wakanda. Like there are people like me who are not gonna put you in a bad situation. So the last thing I want to talk about is one of the things that really hit home for me. It was the last scene where Killmonger, he was dying, and T'Challa told him that he could have saved him. And Killmonger said something along the lines of, I'm going to be like my ancestors who knew that it was better to jump off the ship than to live in bondage. Whew, what a line. That was a good line. And I think a lot of people related to that. But what I really love, with with Coogler doing this movie is, we go back to the emaciated kid with the flies swirling around his head. And that's a lot of the image that we grew up with. Now we have this image of this beautiful African country, the most technologically advanced in the whole world. And we have this beautiful sunset. And we have this guy who grew up. Michael B. Jordan played a lot of the same character as he did in Creed. Like he didn't really have a feel on his identity. He wasn't really connected to his roots. Now Eric Killmonger was not connected to his roots enough to have the love to really be effective in pushing, black people forward, right? And that sunset, I believe, embodied a kind of resolve for T'Challa to not let the sun set on another African or black child without knowing how beautiful they are as an African. And that hit home for me. I love that. And even before seeing this movie, I did a DNA test and I learned my African heritage. Most of my heritage is Cameroon and Congo and Ivory Coast and Ghana. And I was proud of that even before seeing this movie. But that ending scene where he goes to Oakland and he listens to Nakia and he starts reaching out, that's beautiful. And I think putting this fictional country in this modern day era, it's kind of like we're gonna see blacks and Africans further advance in the world, right? That's just inevitable. We're gonna see that more. But placing this movie in this day and time, it's kind of just like how Wonder Woman did the whole Ares thing. Like Ares ended war, pretty much. That's why we live in a time of peace. It's kind of like T'Challa's out there working for the betterment of black people. So when you see something in the news or you see that next genius African child, that's T'Challa, So that's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool thought. As far as movies and how movies play in our culture and everything like that. So I'll give I love the movie. If you watch the movie and you didn't see all these things I'm talking about, I would strongly encourage you to watch it again and look at it, do these different points. And it was just a great movie for me. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 just because it was missing some lines that I thought would be crucial and really understanding the themes and the meanings of the movie. But I give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really well done. I thought it's going to carry into Infinity War really well. And a lot of all the movies in Infinity War, a lot of movies that make up the story of Infinity War are going to come together really nicely. So kudos, Coogler, Marvel. You guys are killing it. Doing way better than DC. I know I ranted, but I love sharing my opinion. So So thanks a lot, and you know, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.
The revolution will be live.